The day my boyfriend Marcus got his Oxford professor offer, he held me and cried for half the night. Before he left the country, he held my hand, his eyes filled with apology. Honey, expenses abroad are too high, and you wouldn't find suitable work there. Once I'm settled, I'll bring you over in style. He paused as he said this, seemingly waiting for me to understand his decision. But he didn't know that just half an hour earlier, I'd personally overheard him making a call on the balcony. Don't worry, the plane ticket is already bought, we'll go together. No matter what, I won't leave you alone. On the other end of the line was his sweet and charming fellow student. Throughout the years we'd been together, he often criticized my low education and said I didn't understand his soul. Yet, when I gave him the money I earned from waiting tables and delivering food for his living expenses, he reluctantly accepted the grease-stained envelope. What he didn't know was that I was already sick of playing the part in this "I'll work to support your studies" charade. Back then, I'd only been drawn to his good looks and wanted to experience a different kind of life. I never imagined this act would last 3 years, and for a moment or two, I almost believed it was real. I was already struggling to find an excuse to dump him, and he just handed me the perfect one. So, upon hearing his words, I stifled a laugh and straightened his collar. All right. Make sure you eat well over there. My night shift is starting soon, I should go. Turning, I dialed my best friend's number. Book a booth at Viva tonight for me. I'm single again, and I'm throwing a party. Sarah, be careful, it's hot. A gentle male voice came from inside the room. My hand, holding the keys, froze in midair. It was my boyfriend Marcus's voice. I pushed open the door to find Marcus's fellow student, Sarah, sitting on the sofa wearing my robe, cradling a steaming mug of milk. And my boyfriend Marcus, a man wouldn't bother to pick up a fallen soy sauce bottle, was kneeling on the floor, peeling an apple for Sarah. It was a tenderness and patience I had never received. Sarah saw me, a flicker of triumph in her eyes, which she quickly replaced with a timid expression. Grace, you're back. Marcus was worried you were working too hard, so he asked me to come keep him company and help you tidy up the place. As she spoke, she deliberately stretched, allowing me a clearer view of the robe she was wearing. Your clothes are really comfortable, though a bit big on me. Marcus's gaze finally shifted from Sarah to my grease-stained work uniform. His brow instantly furrowed into a deep frown. If you're back, go change those clothes right away. They're filthy. Don't wander around in front of Sarah wearing those, you're embarrassing me. I watched them in silence. One was the man I'd supported with my youth and sweat, the other was the understanding fellow student he spoke of. There they were, one wearing my robe, the other in the apartment I paid rent for, looking down on me, its true owner. What a joke. I walked into the bedroom without a word. Marcus's books piled high on the desk, while all my belongings were crammed under the bed. When I changed and came back out, the breakfast I'd prepared for myself on the dining table had been completely eaten by the two of them, leaving nothing but a mess of crumbs. But what truly disheartened me was the watch Sarah was wearing on her wrist. I had traveled to 3 countries and pulled countless strings just to win it at an auction. It was meant to be Marcus's graduation gift, but now, this present I'd painstakingly prepared was on another woman's wrist, and offered not a single explanation. 3 years of memories flashed through my mind. To protect his pride, I squeezed into a cramped rental apartment with him, eating instant noodles, spending all my savings on him. In that moment, I felt like a fool, giving up my comfortable life for what he called our future. I couldn't hold back anymore. Pointing at the watch, I demanded angrily, Sarah, where did you get that watch? Sarah froze at my question, then her eyes immediately welled up, and she hid behind Marcus. I'm sorry, Grace. I didn't mean to. Marcus insisted on giving it to me. He said it was just a little trinket he bought on a whim, and that you definitely wouldn't mind. I didn't know it was so important to you. I'm sorry, I'll give it back right away. As she spoke, she made a show of trying to take off the watch. Marcus immediately shielded her, glaring at me. Grace, haven't you caused enough trouble? It's just a cheap watch. Do you really need to make such a big deal out of it? I know I'm leaving the country tomorrow, and you're upset and looking for an excuse to vent, but don't take it out on Sarah. We're just fellow students. Don't assume I'm having an affair with everyone I'm with. Listening to his self-righteous defense, I sneered inwardly. Just moments before, I had personally overheard him on the apartment building balcony making a call. On the other end was precisely this good fellow student of his. Don't worry, Sarah, I've already bought your plane ticket, we'll go together. How could I possibly leave you alone in the country? No matter what, I won't leave you by yourself. That has a low education and narrow mindset. I can easily trick her with any old excuse. So, watching this farce unfold before me now, I felt an overwhelming sense of irony. I was long sick of this melodramatic play called "I'll work to support your studies." It was time for the curtain to fall. Sarah, however, chose that moment to jump in and add fuel to the fire. She peeked out from behind Marcus, teary-eyed. "Grace, please don't be angry with Marcus. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come." When I was helping Marcus tidy his desk earlier, I noticed the $20,000 he kept in the drawer was gone. "I thought you might have tea. Aiken it for an emergency, so I just asked Marcus, but he didn't know either." She paused, her voice growing softer. "Grace, I know you work very hard and money isn't easy to come by. If you needed money, you could have told Marcus. How could you? How could you just take it without telling him?" The living expenses I'd put in the drawer for Marcus to use before he left the country, she was now implying I stole them? I looked at Marcus, and the impatience on his face instantly morphed into suspicion. He quickly walked to the desk, pulled open the drawer, and indeed, it was empty. He looked at me with eyes that appraised a thief. "Grace, why did you take the money from the drawer?" "That's my hard-earned scholarship money. Only you and I knew where it was kept." I was shaking with anger. "Marcus, do you have any conscience? That $2,000 was money I scrimped and saved from my hard work last month to give you for living expenses. And now you're turning around and asking if I took it?" My shouting made Sarah's tears fall even harder. "Marcus, don't blame Grace, she must have had an emergency. We can just figure out another way to get money." I actually laughed, infuriated by this blatant twisting of the truth. "Marcus, let's get two things straight first. That $20,000 I personally handed to you last Friday night was several months of my salary." "What did you say then?" "You said I worked hard. And your so-called hard-earned scholarship money, last year's went to buy Sarah the phone she'd been longing for, and this year's, didn't you just use it to get yourself a new laptop?" My words made Marcus's face flush then pale, but he couldn't utter a single rebuttal. Seeing rendered speechless by my questions, Sarah behind him grew anxious. "Grace, how can you say that about Marcus? He bought you gifts and paid your rent, didn't he spend a lot of money too? If he used his scholarship money, that's still joint property of our family. You can't be so petty just because you contributed. If the money's gone, we can always figure out another way." Our family, indeed. And petty. How ironic. With just a few careless words, she twisted my legitimate questions into an unreasonable fuss. Sure enough, Marcus immediately roared at me in furious embarrassment. "Grace, I'm talking about our relationship, and you're tallying up receipts? So what if that money was yours? Once you gave it to me, it became my money. I kept it in the drawer, so what right did you have to take it without asking? I see, you just can't stand me being good to Sarah. What else is in your head besides money, you vulgar, materialistic woman? You have no idea what spiritual connection means. I'm truly sick of you. I'm leaving the country tomorrow, and you're still here arguing with me over $2,000. Can't you be a little more understanding, like Sarah?" Looking at his furious and defeated expression, I felt utterly disheartened. He would always believe Sarah, the only person in his heart was Sarah. And I was merely an ATM, funding his studies. To avoid any further complications before he left, I chose to back down and apologize. "I'm sorry. I overreacted. I'm just going to miss you a little." Seeing me give in, Marcus's expression softened. "All right, stop being temperamental. I know you're good to me. Once I'm settled, I'll bring you over in style." Looking at his sanctimonious face, I suppressed the urge to vomit and forced out a smile uglier than a cry, playing along. I walked out of the old apartment building, glancing back at what I had once believed was home. Now, a new mistress had moved into that home. And it was time for me to leave. I took a deep breath of the cool night air, and the suffocating pressure I'd felt seemed to dissipate considerably. Then, I pulled out my phone from my pocket and dialed the only unremarked number in my contacts list. The phone rang only once before it was answered. "Uncle, come pick me up." A steady, respect full voice replied from the other end, "Certainly, Mississippi." 10 minutes later, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of me. Uncle quickly got out and opened the rear door for me. He bowed respectfully to me, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Miss, welcome home." I nodded and got into the car. I took off my work uniform and casually tossed it onto the wool carpet at my feet. Watching the streetlights flash by outside the window, it all felt like an absurd dream, left far behind. Only then did I pull another phone from my bag and call my best friend Chloe. "Chloe, book me the booth at Viva tonight, the very top one." Chloe's exaggerated shriek came from the other end of the line. Holy crap, miss. You finally came to your senses and decided to dump that jerk? I chuckled softly, looking out at the dazzling neon lights. No, I'm single again, and I'm throwing a party to celebrate. Half an hour later, the car pulled up to a top-tier apartment building downtown. I was back at my real home, a 3-story penthouse villa spanning the top floors. Walking barefoot into the walk-in closet, the huge motion sensor lights illuminated one after another. Rows of couture gowns and limited edition handbags, lightly dusted with fine powder, shimmered once more under the lights, regaining their rightful brilliance. I casually pulled down a red silk slip dress and put it on. I walked to the full-length mirror, looking at the familiar yet strange reflection of myself. Bright-eyed and radiant, with fiery red lips and a hint of languor in my gaze. This was Grace, this was the real me. I gently touched my cheek, and whispered to my reflection, Grace, welcome back. Then, I opened my contacts list, found the name Marcus, and blocked and deleted all his related contact information. After doing all that, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced before, like having a long aching tooth pulled, a bit painful, but mostly a huge relief. The next morning, Marcus was off to the airport. Perhaps because we wouldn't see each other again, his poor conscience finally resurfaced, prompting him to call me to say goodbye before his departure. But what he didn't expect was that the familiar ringtone no longer played on the other end. Instead, a cold, automated female voice announced, "We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service." Before the Viva party began, I specifically pulled my best friend Chloe aside. "Chloe, do me a favor." Chloe, excitedly directing waiters on where to set up the champagne tower, leaned in when she heard me, her eyes sparkling. "Tell me, my queen, what does your loyal knight need to do for you?" I smiled and handed her my spare phone. "Use your phone number to help me register a new video account." Though was puzzled, she immediately complied. Once the account was registered, I had Chloe post just one video. The video wasn't long, only 15 seconds. The camera slowly panned across Viva's most exclusive VIP booth, the table laden with ace of spades and Perrier Jouet champagne. A group of impeccably dressed handsome men and beautiful women laughed and chatted, the atmosphere electric. The camera's final shot lingered on a hand wearing a Patek Celestial Complication watch. That distinctly jointed hand was picking up a bottle of ace of spades, pouring me a drink. For the video's caption, I only wrote 6 words, new life, new beginnings. Before posting it, I paid for precise targeted advertising. The target audience was just 2 groups, Marcus, and all his friends. Having done all that, I contentedly handed the phone back to Chloe and winked at her. The show is about to begin. And sure enough, less than 5 minutes after the video was posted, the alumni group chat, with hundreds of members, completely exploded. Someone immediately took a screenshot and sent it privately to Marcus. "Hey, what the hell is going on with your girlfriend? You haven't even left yet, and she's already celebrating being single? Crazy. Her new Sue Gar daddy looks serious. That booth must have a 7-figure minimum spend for one night, right? Is that a Patek watch on her wrist? Am I seeing things? That's gotta be millions, right? Marcus, did you get cheated on? Go check it out, don't let someone completely steal your girl." Messages in the group poured in one after another, all teasing and speculating, enjoying the drama. Marcus was already restless from being unable to reach me all morning, and now, seeing this video and the group's taunts, his face turned a spectrum of colors, flushing red then draining white. Marcus didn't even have time to ponder the strangeness of it all. He immediately hailed a taxi on the roadside and sped towards Viva, only to be stopped by security at the main entrance. I watched him calmly through the surveillance feed as he paced anxiously outside the entrance. Dressed in his faded, worn-out casual clothes, he looked completely out of place compared to the glamorous, well-dressed guests around him. I raised my glass, took a sip of champagne, and smiled at the club manager standing beside me. "Leo, let him in." Leo hesitated. "Miss, this isn't a good idea, is it? He looks like he's here to cause trouble." I set down my glass, a cold glint in my eyes. "I want him to cause trouble. Let him in. All his expenses here today will be charged to my account. I want him to see it clearly." Leo nodded and immediately relayed the instructions via his walkie-talkie. At the Viva party, I was undeniably the center of attention. The music was deafening, the lights dazzling and hazy. Suddenly, a commotion erupted not far away, and an incongruous figure roughly pushed through the crowded people, heading straight for me. Marcus stormed up to me. He grabbed my wrist, his eyes fixed on me, his face filled with betrayed fury. "Grace! Have you lost your mind?" he roared at me. For money, you'd stoop to mingle with these people, debasing yourself like this? I'm barely out the door, and you're already so eager to find a new patron? Do you think wearing clothes that don't belong to you will erase your identity as a waitress? Have you forgotten who you are? Come back with me. Don't make a spectacle of yourself here. His words exploded through the noisy booth. The surrounding music paused for a beat. Before I could even speak, my best friend Chloe erupted. She slammed her drink glass onto the table, pointed a finger at Marcus's nose, and started yelling. Marcus, who the hell do you think you are? Who are you to her? Embarrassing? Why don't you take a good look in the mirror and see what you've become? You're wearing the Armani shirt Grace bought you, driving the car Grace bought you, living in the apartment Grace rented for you. What right do you have to yell at her here? Everything you eat, wear, and use, Grace gave it to you. What nerve do you have to say she's embarrassing you? I think the most embarrassing person here is you opportunistic social climber, living off women. I yanked my wrist free from Marcus's grip, turned, picked up a glass of Romani Conti from the table, and walked to him. I raised the glass and poured the wine all over the Armani shirt I had personally chosen for him. Instantly, a large, embarrassing wine stain spread across his chest. I leaned in close to his ear and whispered, "This wine is $150,000 a bottle. It doesn't deserve this shirt. Just like you don't deserve me." Marcus, drenched in expensive champagne, completely lost his composure. He wiped the wine from his face and began to hurl wild insults at me. Well, what do we have here? So you found a new sugar daddy. Grace, you're really something. I underestimated you. Tell me, how much did you charge for a night to get this outfit and this table full of drinks? Have you been whoring yourself out behind my back all along? While I was busting my ass studying and doing research at school, fighting for our future, you were out there selling ourself to support me? You utterly disgust me, you shameless bitch. His vile accusations were hurled at me, a torrent of abuse. The entire booth instantly fell silent. Everyone around was enjoying the spectacle. I looked at his face, completely twisted by jealousy, and the last shred of lingering affection in my heart turned to ash. I gestured for Chloe, who looked ready to tear him apart, to calm down. Disgusting? I repeated the word, the smile on my lips deepening. Marcus, you say I'm disgusting? I was afraid of hurting your pathetic pride, so I lied and told you my couture coat, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, was a bargain I snatched from a street vendor during a sale. You clearly had your suspicions, yet you complacently accepted it. To get enough collateral for your overseas exchange program, I pawned the only jade bracelet my mother left me. You held me and said, Grace, you're the greatest stroke of luck in my life. I believed you then, but now, huh? With each accusation, Marcus's face grew paler and paler. He took a step back, outwardly fierce but inwardly cowardly, pointing at me and yelling, his voice trembling, You've been lying to me, you've been lying to me from the very beginning. My smile grew colder. No, Marcus, I wasn't lying to you. It was you who complacently lied to yourself all along. You lied to yourself, saying I was just an ordinary, unsophisticated working girl, and since you were so brilliant, everything I did for you was only natural. You complacently enjoyed everything I provided for you, living in the apartment I rented, driving the car I bought, using the living expenses I gave you, and then you turned around and looked down on me for my low education, criticized my lack of taste, and scorned me for not understanding your soul. You took the smooth path I paved for you, yet you turned around and complained that I, the one who paved it, walked too slowly and dirted your feet. You wore the expensive mare I bought you, yet when I needed you most, you didn't hesitate to stab me in the heart with the sharpest blade. Now tell me, Marcus. My voice suddenly rose. Between the two of us, who is truly more disgusting? You just asked me, how much did I charge for a night? My smile grew even brighter. I can tell you right now. Every penny I spent on you, every grievance I endured for you, was the price I paid for my initial blindness. As for you and your pure and untainted fellow student, I paused, then said, word for word, I'll just consider these past few years as being bitten by a stray dog. And I, Grace, have never made a habit of arguing with a dog. The moment I finished speaking, before Marcus could react, Chloe, standing behind me, unlocked her phone and pulled up a screenshot. Excuse me, everyone, for interrupting your enjoyment. Allow me to reintroduce this gentleman, Mr. Marcus. He's an accomplished doctoral candidate about to pursue advanced studies at Oxford University. He just accused my best friend, Miss, in front of everyone, of selling her body to acquire wealth and status. She zoomed in on the screenshot on her phone screen, displaying it for everyone to see. It was Sarah's bragging social media post from this morning, showing her wearing my robe, eating the breakfast I made, and wearing the watch I bought. Below the screenshot was Sarah's caption, "A new day begins with my seniors loving breakfast. So happy, and this, everyone, is the kind and innocent fellow student Mr. Marcus has been so desperately defending. Take a closer look. The robe she's wearing was Grace's, bought last year at Milan Week, and is worth 6 figures. The watch on her wrist is a graduation gift my best friend saved up for, intending to give to Marcus. As for the apartment behind them, the monthly rent, and all the expenses for Mr. Marcus's advanced studies at Oxford this time." Chloe put her phone away, turned to Marcus, whose face was now ash, and flashed an extremely sarcastic smile. "I'm sorry to say, but all of that was paid for solely by my best friend, Grace. So, Mr. Marcus, your claim of selling herself to support you. It seems you've got it backward, haven't you? You've been complacently living as a kept man, haven't you?" With the truth revealed publicly, everyone's gaze collectively shot towards Marcus. Scorn, disdain, mockery, contempt. Holy crap, so he's a kept man. A kept man acting superior? You really do see everything. And an Oxford PhD candidate? With such terrible character, his studies must have all gone to waste. Marcus's face turned as white as a sheet in an instant. He staggered back 2 steps, his lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. He was finished, he was completely socially ruined. I couldn't be bothered to look at his pathetic state any longer. I waved to Leo, the manager who had been standing nearby. "Leo, escort him out exactly as he is. I don't want to see this filth in my establishment ever again, he's an eyesore." Leo immediately bowed and replied, "Yes, miss, I'll handle it right away." 2 burly security guards immediately stepped forward, seized Marcus, and began to drag him out. It was then that Marcus completely lost his mind. He struggled, screaming with all his might, "Grace, don't get ahead of yourself. You're a devil who toys with people's hearts using money, you're a liar. Do you think being rich makes you special, that you can humiliate me? Just you wait. When I become an Oxford professor, when I achieve fame and success, a woman like you, reeking of materialism, isn't even fit to tie my shoes." His screams, amidst the powerful music, sounded particularly ridiculous. Like a defeated loser, letting out one last desperate whine before being chased out of its territory. Finally, his voice, along with him, vanished beyond Viva's opulent doors. I raised a fresh glass of champagne, shared a smile with Chloe, and lightly clinked glasses. Cheers. To my lost youth, and to my brand new future. The Viva spectacle that night quickly spread throughout the high society and Marcus's university alumni circles. Marcus had become an absolute joke. An ungrateful opportunistic social climber who lived off a woman, then bit the hand that fed him. I had thought he would tuck his tail between his legs and slink away from my world. But I had underestimated the extent of his shamelessness. After realizing I had cancelled all his supplementary credit cards and blocked all his contact information, he began to furiously slander and defame me in the alumni group chat and across various social media platforms. He portrayed himself as an innocent victim, manipulated by capital. He spread rumors that I was a psychologically twisted rich person who, to test true love, didn't hesitate to pretend to be poor to approach him. He claimed I used money to tempt him, and after he took the bait, I ruthlessly discarded him in the cruelest, most humiliating way. He said I did all this simply to satisfy my own twisted sense of superiority. He spoke with emotional vividness, his words painting me as vicious as a viper. For a time, many uninformed netizens and his classmates began to sympathize with him, turning to cyberbullying against me. My social media accounts were flooded with obscene insults. Chloe was so furious she almost threw her phone, calling me to say, "Grace, that bastard is utterly deplorable. We have to fight back. Release all the evidence, and make sure he can never recover." I, however, calmly sipped my coffee and summoned the head of the corporate legal department to my office, giving him only 2 demands. First, I want his reputation and career ruined. Second, I want him to pay the most agonizing price for his stupidity and greed. The legal department was highly efficient. In less than half a day, 2 meticulously worded and devastating legal letters were ready. The first was sent directly via encrypted email to the official address of Oxford University. Attached was a detailed list of all the expenses I had paid for him over the past 3 years. The legal team had even thoughtfully highlighted one particular item of $80,000 in red, noting that this sum was allocated to support Mr. Marcus's relevant research project expenses. The legal letter concluded with a highly intimidating postscript. Our client, Ms. Grace, expresses serious concerns regarding the authenticity of Mr. Marcus's personal financial statements and funding sources submitted during his application for a position at your esteemed university. As the sole contributor of this research funding, we request that the university verify the use of these funds and their role in Mr. Marcus's academic achievements. We reserve all rights to pursue any potential academic misconduct on his part. The second legal letter was sent directly to Sarah herself, who was at home, eagerly awaiting her new life with Marcus. The content of this letter was much simpler and more direct, a notification demanding the return of illegally appropriated and unjustly enriched assets. It also included a detailed list. The list itemized the original price of the six-figure silk robe she had worn, down to the model number, and a copy of the receipt for the Tissot watch she had taken. The postscript of this legal letter was even more ruthless. Ms. Sarah, given the special intimate relationship between you and Mr. Marcus, and your acquisition and use of the aforementioned assets without the knowledge of our client, Ms. Grace, we have ample reason to believe that you are a co-beneficiary of Mr. Marcus's unjust enrichment. We request that within 3 days of receiving this letter, you return all assets listed or their equivalent cash value. Otherwise, we will formally initiate legal proceedings against you for misappropriation in the district court. Having done all this, I turned off my phone and peacefully enjoyed my afternoon tea. The game, however, had only just begun. And Sarah's nightmare was about to unfold. As it turned out, what truly crushes a person isn't just a massive bill, but the future they depend on for their very existence. That Oxford University offer represented all his hope and dignity. It was not only the culmination of 10 years of arduous study but also his sole springboard to escape his humble origins and climb into high society. Academic misconduct, moreover, was an absolute red line for any world-class institution, especially since Marcus was already notorious from the previous incident. I next saw him in a live stream sent by Chloe. In the international airport terminal, Marcus and Sarah, both wearing masks and hats, hurried towards security, ready to embark on their bright future. Just as they were about to hand their passports to the staff, 2 stern-faced foreigners, accompanied by airport security, blocked their path. The leading white man, in front of all the waiting passengers, announced the Oxford University academic's decision to Marcus. Mr. Marcus, we are from the Oxford University Academic Office. We are officially notifying you that the university has received conclusive evidence alleging serious academic misconduct in your application materials, including but not limited to data plagiarism and misappropriation of funds. We will be launching a full investigation into your case, and we ask for your full cooperation. On camera, Marcus's mask instantly slipped, and he froze in place like a statue struck by lightning, his face ashen. Sarah, standing beside him, turned even paler, her face instantly as white as paper. She glanced at the distraught Marcus, then at the legal letter she had just received on her phone. It demanded that she return all the expenses I had paid for Marcus, totaling $600,000, within a specified period, or face charges of joint fraud. The very next second, this good fellow student, who had moments ago been so affecté with him, unhesitatingly pulled her hand from Marcus's, grabbed her suitcase, and turned to leave, as if the man standing beside her wasn't her lover but a pariah to be avoided at all costs. The saying, when disaster strikes, everyone fends for themselves, was perfectly embodied in her actions. I closed the video, my heart completely unmoved. I thought that would be the end of it. After all, their alliance was built on a shared future, and with that future gone, the alliance naturally crumbled. But I had underestimated the depths of human depravity. A few days later, my assistant showed me an even more interesting video, surveillance footage from the hallway of the apartment building we used to rent. In the video, Sarah was trying to leave with her suitcase, but Marcus held her back tightly. All traces of their former tender affection had vanished, replaced only by hysterical accusations and mutual blame. Sarah, where do you think you're going? You're just leaving like this? You were the one who said, make happy, and all her money will be ours. You encouraged me to use her funds to buy things for you, and now that things have gone wrong, you want to wash your hands of it? Sarah let out a shrill laugh. Me, instigate you? Marcus, don't flatter yourself. Did I hold a knife to your throat and force you to swindle her money? You were insatiably greedy, incapable, and always looking for a shortcut. Now that you've been exposed, you're just lashing out like a rabid dog. I slapped Marcus hard across the face. Look at you now, what a mess. Loser. A loser expelled from Oxford, bogged down by lawsuits. Me, stay with you? Am I insane? You figure out the $500,000 yourself, don't try to pin it on me. Marcus was stunned by the slap. His eyes immediately turned bloodshot, and he lunged at me. We tore into each other like hooligans in the narrow stairwell of the old apartment building, cursing each other, each blaming the other for everything. This was what had asked for love between us, a grand robe concealing a nest of lice once lifted. This vicious public brawl ended with Sarah fleeing the city overnight. Marcus, now completely abandoned by everyone, began a ridiculous attempt to win me back, actually believing I would forgive him and return to him. Downstairs at the office, and at the entrance to my apartment, I would always see his forlorn and haggard figure. He was no longer the spirited young talent he once was, but like a restless ghost, wearing faded old clothes, with hollow eyes and an unshaven face, trying to ambush me day after day. Once, when I was dining at a restaurant I frequently visited, I even found him serving food in a waiter's uniform, trying to get close to me. His once handsome face was filled with subservience and sickening flattery. I gave him a fleeting glance, then had my bodyguard keep him away, not bothering to utter a single word to him. Finally, at a cocktail party, Marcus somehow managed to sneak in. In front of all the media and business elites present, he broke through security's blockade, rushed over to me, and knelt down with a thud. He clung to my leg, sobbing uncontrollably, his face a mess of snot and tears, looking utterly pathetic. Grace, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I'm a scumbag, I was blind to what truly mattered, I'm worse than an animal. I was blinded by greed. I made a mistake, I mistook a diamond for trash, and a pearl for a pebble. He forcefully slapped himself, producing loud smacks, seemingly trying to earn my sympathy with this display. I don't ask for your forgiveness, only that you give me one more chance. I'll do anything for you. Whatever you ask, I'll do it. Please, help me explain to Oxford that it was all a misunderstanding. I'll do anything for you, even work like a dog, or even be his dog. Please, don't ruin me. I stopped, looking down at the groveling man at my feet. Marcus, stop the act. You don't love me, you just can't accept that Everett. Thing you've ever dreamed of is merely trash I can easily discard. Your repentance isn't because you hurt me, but because your future is ruined. Having said that, I gently lifted my foot and kicked his hand away from my leg. Then, I linked arms with the truly handsome and elegant partner by my side, whose family background matched mine perfectly, and under Marcus's desperate gaze, walked towards the brilliant future that truly belonged to me. Marcus's repentance, Marcus's tears, to me, were even more tedious than the lengthy background music at the cocktail party, because I knew, if it were me kneeling there today, he wouldn't even be interested in giving me a second glance.